know that Joe Biden, when he was occupying the Oval Office and somebody else was running the auto pen service and signing his name to lots and lots of stuff, he shifted literally hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt from college graduates to taxpayers who had never once sat in a college classroom. A costly forgiveness program. I thought we'd talk to you about that with Tommy Aiello, who is Senior Director of Governmental Affairs at the National Taxpayers Union. Tommy, welcome back to the program.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Do we need to see sort of the Doge treatment given to Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness program? And would it save taxpayers some money?
Yeah, you know what? It really is incredible that we still have to talk about student loan bailouts. And when President Trump came in, he did end what President Biden had did, or whoever else was running at the time did, where if you didn't attend college, you would be saddled with hundreds of billions of dollars to pay back student loans for college graduates, whether they received a gender studies degree or anything else. It was just general unfairness. So luckily, when he came in, him and Education Secretary McMahon, they put a stop to it. And thankfully, in the one big beautiful bill, it ends it even further and puts it into law that you cannot bail out student loans. So it's a very good thing, but more work remains, and that's the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. It's a law passed by Congress in 2007 that codifies student loan bailouts. I'm working to make sure we overturn that misguided law.
Well, and by the way, public service loan forgiveness. So you agree to do certain kinds of work or work in certain professions or in certain kind of volunteer status, and that helps work off your loan? Is that the gist of it?
Essentially, if you work for a nonprofit organization or a state, local, or federal government agency, if you make 10 years of minimum payments, that could be as little as $50 a month, the federal government, meaning taxpayers, are forced to write off the entirety of your student loan debt. So if you're only making these minimum payments, right now the average debt forgiveness totals $80,000 per borrower. Yeah, it's a lot of money. And unfortunately, there's no guardrails that exist. So you could have, $200,000 worth of debt, and taxpayers just write it off. There's no questions asked.
And like you said, at $50 a month, at $50 a month, $600 a year, 10 years is $6,000. You owe 80 grand. You've got interest piling up on the money you owe. You pay $6,000 over 10 years, and you get the other $74,000 simply forgiven, meaning that debt, that cost gets transferred to regular Americans who've never been to college.
That's right. It's so unfair that plumbers, electricians, even people that work at the grocery store who might not have student debt, that maybe are just scraping by, their taxes are going towards giving people loan forgiveness. And it's not just a few people. The Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program has 2.5 million eligible borrowers. So if you take all of those people times an average of $80,000, it adds up very quickly to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. And there's really nothing that the administration can do with executive action. It takes a law from Congress to change. So that's why we're working towards putting some guardrails on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program and encouraging, if they do another reconciliation package, that they need to look into the program and fix it. Otherwise, the system is just going to work really well for these people with student loans, but not so much for everybody else.
Okay, so Tommy, let me take a flyer here, and I'm going to try something. And if I'm completely off base, tell me so. Some of what you can do in public service loan forgiveness is work for a nonprofit. A lot of those NGOs tend to be highly political and generally liberal. So you could come out of college with the, degree in underwater basket weaving or DEI or CRT or something like that. So it's not going to necessarily benefit you anyway. You go to work for some highly political NGO and you get to count that as paying off your student loans while you're doing political work mostly for the left. Am I way off base?
You're not off base at all. In fact, you're right on the nose. You could work at any of these organizations, or you work for a state, local, or federal government, which of course lean to the left, and you would be eligible to participate in the program. And the way we look at it is, if you are working for a state or local or federal government agency, you not only have very generous benefits, whether it's health care or pensions, but you also have that built-in job security. In most cases, if you work for the state or local governments, you're not going to lose your job.
You
can have that job
off
for life. Exactly. So you get it both ways. Oh, and by the way, if you work for a NGO, the organization itself doesn't have to pay any tax on what they bring in through donations. So they really are getting it both ways, and I think it's time that we put a stop to it.
Well, and are the taxpayers getting any benefit? Because I realize when people hear about this, they think, okay, in theory, you go to work for the Red Cross and you're doing, kindly work somewhere, disaster relief or things like that. They're always imagining you're doing something like that. They're not thinking maybe he's off volunteering for the Tides Foundation or the Open Society Foundation, working for George Soros to advance liberal causes. They're not thinking of that kind of volunteer work there, are they?
No, they're not. And I think that's why we need to build in some protections to protect those people. I think if Congress were to consider a law, they can consider a few things. One, cap how much of a benefit people can receive from the public service loan forgiveness program. That could be, if they have $10,000 worth of student loan debt, maybe that's wiped away if they're actually working to serve the public. Or we should impose an income cap where right now it's uncapped. You can make, as much money as you want, and you can still receive the generous taxpayer funded bailout. Maybe instead we impose a income cap of what the average person might make in a year, which might be about $50,000. Maybe we say if you make under $50,000 a year, you're actually in need of the public service loan forgiveness program. You can be eligible to receive this funds after you make your 10 years of payments.
That's right. Tommy Aiello. Tommy, thanks very much. He is Director of Government Affairs of the National Taxpayers Union. I got to tell you